Hello again, everybody, and welcome to our MPTV Coaches Show. Ryan Lindley here with Eric Myers. And Coach, we're going to spend today talking about some postseason seedings, kind of where we project certain teams going. But first, let's kind of recap this last week in Potters Athletics.
Yeah, a lot of going on. We had a pretty busy week here. The weather's been awesome for the most part. Ups and downs is normal here in Central Illinois. But yesterday, Tuesday night, we had the boys Mid-Illini Track and Field Championships. Team got second overall. We got 1 point out of that first spot behind conference champion Metamora, led by 200-meter champion Carl Whitaker, 800-meter Leighton Canoop, second place right there. Christian Harris finished second in the 1600. Josh Weeks bringing home first place in the 3200. And then what about, hurdles and all that? What do we got?
Yeah, so pretty successful there. 110 hurdles, Andrew McLaughlin second. 300-meter hurdles, Preston Berg second. Relays were really solid as well. 2 first-place relays, 4x1 and 4x2, both first-place relays there. Cody Hughes, pole vault, finishes second. And then Michael Wong, triple jump, first. So, again, the team finishes second as a group. They'll get ready for their postseason. I guess you count the conference meet as postseason in a way, but they'll get ready for the rest of their postseason coming up, and they definitely got a chance to advance some kids to state.
For sure. We didn't even count all the third, fourth, those other finishes in there. Hats off to our boys Mid-Illini Conference team. Girls currently today, Wednesday, are at sectionals up in Kankakee right now, so we don't have anything to report on that, but best of luck to them out there, and hopefully they bring home some PRs and some state qualifiers out of that as well. And then we can switch gears and let's go to the Diamond. So how's baseball going?
So baseball, kind of got a winning streak, right? We talked last week it was important to build that winning streak before you had those postseason seedings. The Potters win 3 in a row heading into the seedings. We'll reveal those seedings later in today's show. But drama, yeah, got to build the drama, folks. Hopefully you enjoy the little tease there. But 3 in a row, 2 from Prairie Central on Saturday, 1 big win, and then 1 kind of come from behind type win. Braylon Smith, big 2-run home run for a 6-3 win in Game 2, and then another come from behind victory, scoring 2 in the bottom of the 7th to beat Dunlap on Monday night.
Yeah, and we both watched that game on MPTV and the NFHS network, which you can always go and watch and stream there live. But yeah, down to our last couple outs right there, even down to our last strike if you want to get really, really technical. Tate Rowley with a real clutch hit there to right field to drive in the tying run, and then wild pitch gives us the go-ahead run there in the bottom of the 7th. So
yeah, exciting finish, and again, 3 in a row. So hopefully they keep it rolling. They'll have games this week. As we're filming this is Wednesday. They're going to play Dunlap again tonight, and then go take the somewhat lengthy. Well, Moline's in between, but then a lengthy road trip on Friday out to United Township.
Yeah, it's going to be a long one. Then next week they'll finish up Mid-Atlantic Conference versus Washington. Let's move on to softball, Coach. What do we got going on there?
So softball is kind of a tough week for the Lady Potters on the softball diamond. They dropped several games this past week. This week they're taking on EP and U-High. They do wrap up the regular season next week. Again, they were seeded as well. We'll talk about that postseason later on as well. And I think, again, we've talked about in the past just dealing with some injuries and such, but trying to kind of get a little bit of consistency going into the postseason.
For sure. So if you guys are available, head out to Birchwood Park Saturday at 10, doubleheader there. U-High should be a good game out there this weekend. Weather looks to be pretty good, 80 degrees, sunny, so that'll be pretty good. And then lastly, kind of our big, well, not big, but we have boys tennis as well. So boys tennis, what do we got going on?
Yeah, so boys tennis, I'm kind of in that postseason prep right now, preparing for sectionals. Again, had such a fantastic season. Expectations are really high going into the postseason for boys tennis. As high as they've been, in a very long time here in Morton. So more on that hopefully next week as they kind of build toward that.
Yeah, and then we have girls soccer, which became the Mid-Atlantic champs with a 2-0 win over Washington on Tuesday. So really great job for our Lady Soccer Potters. Another great strong season right there.
Absolutely. And you just kind of think about it, right? They were coming off they had a tough loss to Dunlap, and it felt like, oh no, what's going to happen? They get a little help from Metamora, who beats Dunlap, and then they beat Washington. And it just shows you in sports, never get too high or too low.
For sure.
Because you can have that crushing defeat, and then suddenly it's a fantastic cheer everybody on victory.
Always. You never know what's going to happen. That's the greatest thing about sports, is pretty much any given day, any given team can win. And that's what we like about sports, and that's why it's so fun. That's why we all keep playing these sports. So let's move on to some of these postseason. What do we got?
So let's start with baseball. We said we'd reveal that one. So good news for the Potters. In the baseball, they're in the Metamora sectional. They're going to host their own regional, which is always, I think, an advantage getting to play at home. They're going to be the number 2 seed in their subsectional. That subsectional obviously is going to feature number 1 seed Washington, number 2 seed Morton, as I just said, and number 3 seed East Peoria. So you're probably looking at, Potters are probably going to play Richwoods in the first game, and so most likely a Morton East Peoria regional final, which would be a rematch of last year's regional final.
It will be, and that'll be a good game. You know, those teams have gone head-to-head here lately, and good bud, bad bud, not really sure. Both teams have pretty dominant pitching on both sides, so strategy is going to come into play as to who you throw that first game, and then you got to come back to win the second game. But if you don't win the first game, there is no second game because postseason, it's over when you lose.
Yeah, and the Potters, you might ask, have the Potters played Richwoods already this year with the likelihood they're going to play them? The answer is kind of. They played 3 innings and it got rained out. Richwoods is actually ahead 3-0 in that game, but obviously Richwoods is a 7 seed, Potters the 2 seed. Again, we're kind of projecting that matchup right now. We haven't got the official seeding, matchups, but with the Potters, obviously the 2 seed, you would assume in an 8-team bracket they'd play the 7.
You would think so. So that should be a good matchup right there. Again, you can't count your blessings because, as we just talked about, you can win any single given day. So what about girls soccer?
So girls soccer, we do have the matchups for this one. Potters again hosting the regional, which we appreciate the IHSA giving us a couple sports where we get to be the regional host. So thank you to the IHSA. Potters 1 seed in girls soccer, and they're going to play the winner of a 3 seed Washington versus a 6 seed LaSalle Peru. That's going to be on Friday, May 19th, is when that regional championship is going to be. And what's kind of interesting about that is, the Potters just played Washington. So, there's kind of interesting when you play the same team with a really kind of brief turnaround, just takes about a week and a half.
I don't know about you, but I'm a fan of that because you understand what's happening. They can't really put in a lot of things to change you really hardcore. You don't have a ton of energies. Like you don't have a star player, somebody's out and they're going to come back, you can be a difference maker. So those are things that are good when you play somebody back to back. I'm a fan of it. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I see it's kind of a mixed bag a little bit. I mean, you see the positives that you just brought up, which I think are really critical. The only negative, I think, is sometimes it's the psychological aspect, right? Like it works both ways, right? If you've beaten them, you hope you're not too kind of full of yourself, because obviously you don't want to go in there feeling as if, this is a guaranteed because we just beat them. And sometimes it can work against you, though, as the team that lost. You get very discouraged. Well, we just lost to these guys. How are we going to beat them just a week later?
Well, 2 things. A, we're on the right end of that. Yeah. And B, I have no fears that Coach DeLong can get his girls motivated to come out and win that regional.
Absolutely. So softball? Yeah, let's shift.
Softball. So obviously we're in the Metamora sectional here, subsectional. And there's a lot of teams here. Metamora is going to walk away state ranked, top out of the gate right there for that. But we're going to be in subsectional B. And obviously another, let's say, Mid-Atlantic heavy subsectional there. Washington's going to be your number 1 seed. Normal Community West is going to be your 2 seed. EP is going to be your 3 seed, followed by Lincoln, Notre Dame, Limestone. And Morton's going to be in there at the 7 seed, and then Bloomington High School and Peoria Central are going to round that out. So wide group of talent.
Yeah, one thing that you're kind of looking for if you're Morton, and you don't know this for sure, again, we're going to probably get those announcements maybe tomorrow, possibly Friday, as far as the actual breakdown for baseball, softball, who do you play. But with these seeds, you kind of start to project a little bit. Possibility, at least, of Morton playing a quarterfinal game, where you would potentially get Bloomington or Peoria High at Birchwood Park, and then the winner would obviously have to then go play either Washington or Normal West.
Correct.
But I mean, the thing is, we talked to Coach Kirby way back at the start of the season about trying to build a program. One element to building a program is getting postseason wins, and so if you can get kind of a favorable matchup in a quarterfinal, that's not a bad thing, because you can at least kind of add postseason win to that list of accomplishments when you're trying to build up a program.
Yeah, for sure. And it gives our girls, so as a young team, something to look forward to. It gets that experience too. You're right there, you're on the diamond, you get that first win. It's like, oh, wow, we can do this. So it sets that momentum for the next year, like you were just talking about. So great job right there. And best of luck to all of our Potter sports teams out there. And then we have the boys tennis.
Yeah, we talked about this one a little bit earlier. One of the tough things is this is a loaded sectional for boys tennis.
For sure.
You got Dunlap and Morton together, and that's always challenging.
It's our only loss on the season.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that you get those 2 teams together. I mean, it's going to be drama, though. Who's going to take home that team championship? Regardless, kind of the interesting thing about tennis is it's both a team sport and an individual sport. So even if the Potters don't take home the team title, they've got a decent chance at pushing some individuals through.
And I would assume just the way that they're playing, they're going to have some guys, do that out there, whether that's Blake Shoemaker, Aiden Belsley. It's going to be somebody who's going to figure out a way to win those matches that they need to when they get out there. So girls track, we've already talked about. They're at the sectional right now. Tons of teams up there as well, so they're well on their postseason. Boys track, though, still is about a week out So what do we got there?
So boys track, again, kind of, I would argue the boys sectional is easier than girls sectional as far as track goes, but it's not easy, if that makes sense.
Well, it's kind of tough too, because again, you have a team sport and an individual sport, and you could have one really good runner, and they could dominate for a team.
Yeah, no, it's true. One person can score multiple points, but I mean, obviously, like who are the Potters looking for competitively, or who are they looking to kind of top in that? I mean, at the top of the list is going to be Metamora, who beat them by what do we talk? 1 point in the conference matchup. So chance to turn that around, and then obviously you're going to get some other competitive teams in there. U-High's in there; they're always solid. Peoria schools,
Peoria Central, Peoria Notre Dame. I mean, you're going to have some actual teams in there. Pontiac, Stanford, Olympia. The biggest school district in the state of Illinois. Who knows? They might throw a guy out there. So. Lots of postseason coming your way, though. So, Coach, what are our final thoughts here as we try to wrap this up?
Yeah, I mean, I think this next couple weeks, and hopefully beyond that, right, is part of what makes it exciting. You get to the postseason and you do exactly what we're doing. You try to figure out who you're going to play, and is this a favorable matchup, or what adjustments do we need to make? And it's an exciting time for players, exciting time for coaches, and I think it's an exciting time for all of you at home and all of us that just enjoy it and enjoy sports. I mean, there's a reason why the NCAA tournament is always the highest rated event as far as sports go outside of the Super Bowl, right? Because you never know what's going to happen in a single elimination tournament. And you're going to see, Cinderellas. And there's a lot of opportunities for that, I think, that we're going to see in the high school postseason this spring. Potters are in some cases in a position to be that Cinderella team. In some cases they're in the position where they're kind of that top seed and they're expected to advance. But at the end of the day, you never know.
Yeah, very well said. So as always on MPTV as well as the NFHS network, we're going to try to bring you as much postseason coverage as possible. You might even hear our voices once or twice on one of those broadcasts, depending on how schedules play out. You never know. But we'll be there. And if you like us, share, subscribe, whatever you need to do on YouTube so we don't miss any of that Potter action. So for Ryan Lindley, I'm Eric Myers. Until next week, thanks.